Hello, welcome to Creation Speaks. I hope you're doing well today. I have titled this devotion, God Shows Up. Now, before I read what I wrote down in my journal, I want to kind of give you a little background. So, Jesus had been crucified and he rose again, and he had appeared to the disciples at various times. And that's kind of the time period in what this setting took place. Now, Peter, he had decided to go fishing. He said, "I'm going fishing," and the others said, "Well, we're coming too." So they all went fishing. They fished all night and didn't catch a thing. Now, Jesus showed up on the beach. Now, the disciples didn't know that it was Jesus, but Jesus yelled out to them, "Hey, do you have anything to eat?" And they said, "No." And he instructs them to cast the net on the other side. And when they did that, they hauled in a lot. They had a huge catch. And it was then that John said, "It is the Lord." And Peter jumps in the water, swims to the beach. The other disciples get the boat into the shore. They pull up the nets, and there they have um, breakfast really with Jesus. And that's where the verse that I wrote down here is John 21:9. That's when they show up on land. Then as soon as they had come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid on it, and bread. And Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish which you have just caught." So they had breakfast together there on that beach. I love that story. And there on that beach, Jesus showed up and had breakfast with the disciples. I love the story John writes about Jesus showing up on the beach. There that early morning, the disciples were worn out from toiling all night and catching nothing. And Jesus asked, "Do you have anything to eat?" They answered, "No." Then Jesus instructed them to cast the net on the other side, and they listened, and their catch was great. Then John said, "It is the Lord." And God showed up, and they had an excellent breakfast, just as Peter. When a couple ran out of wine at their wedding, he showed up and saved the host from embarrassment by making water turn to wine. He showed up in a field and fed the multitudes with only a few loaves and fishes. He showed up and healed a man who had been crippled. He gave sight to the blind, cured the sick, and even raised the dead. It's easy to read about these, but remember, he showed up for individuals like you and me in their moment of distress. God is the one who shows up. He always has. God showed up in the garden when Adam and Eve tried to cover their sin and made them a covering. Paul wrote that God showed up when the fullness of time had come to redeem man from sin. In his letter, he wrote to the Galatians. He shows up, and he will always show up for you. He always has, and he always will. Never forget that. And I hope you don't forget that. I hope you remember that God does show up. It can be difficult, it can be challenging. You don't always understand, but God shows up at the right moment, at the right time. I hope you have a great day today. May you be blessed. May you have that expectant heart, knowing that God does show up. And may you be blessed.
Well, thank you again for tuning in to this episode on Creation Speaks podcast. If you want more podcasts and devotions, head on over to our website, creationspeaks.com. And there I do a lot of writing. I post audio and video. And then I also do some of my woodworking. So a great way to support this is I do handmade wooden pens, coffee scoops, and other items. And, just I enjoy making things, sharing, and I hope through it all that you might find in some encouragement and know that you're created in the image of God. As a believer, you've been redeemed and God started to work in you. And I hope together we can grow together. Again, thanks again, and talk to you next time.